Hello and welcome to my thoughts on Solasta Crown of the Magister after completing the main scenario and the Palace of Ice DLC. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Is it Baldur's Gate 3? It is not Baldur's Gate 3. No. Significantly smaller budget, significantly smaller studio, using a slightly different rule set. It's its own animal and it doesn't pretend to be something it's not. So, that's out the way. We'll start with the story. Wouldn't say that the story is memorable per se, but it's sort of like the B movies you used to get in the theatre. Gee, that's showing my age. So yeah, the B movie was something included with your ticket price. But basically, a movie by an independent director, independent studio that wouldn't get its own airing if it wasn't a B movie. Typically it was a I don't want to insult them because we do like B movies. On the whole, B movies are more I would say more fun, but they tend to be quite fun. They tend to explore different things. It's just yeah, they didn't have the money, the studio behind them. It's so that's essentially what I think Solasta is in the space that it's found itself in. It's in the B movie category. It wasn't a bad storyline by any sense of the word. Yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. I like the little banter between your four party characters as they went about doing their stuff. But could I say it's memorable? No, I could not with a straight face say that Solasta had a memorable story. It had a good story which worked, and that's enough for most games. I mean, when we think back to Sonic and Mario, Sonic's story was, I'm chasing these 7 Chaos Emeralds that keep getting lost. Each time I have a new game, Dr. Robotnik will keep trying to take them off me and capture me and Tails. And we'll just gotta go fast. And as for Mario, well, Princess Peach was always in another castle by the time you got to the end. So, story is how you perceive story. The princess always being in another castle was more than enough story for Mario back in the day. And that is fine, because it was more than enough for us. Okay, so moving on from the story, we'll go to the voice acting, because they're closely linked, I suppose you'd say. Again, this isn't a Hollywood A-list cast. It isn't a AAA studio cast. It's normal people who sound like normal people, and that's strangely refreshing. here. It's sort of like every game that comes out, you get either an entirely American cast, which sounds entirely American from beginning to end. There's no class distinction. It's just, yep, we're Americans. We're doing American things in this world, and that's fine. Or you get the British cast, which is, oh yes, we are so much better than you peasants, and looking down on everyone all the time. And it's like, okay, there's definite class distinction here. Only even the peasants in the game sound like they're to the manor born. So it's like, okay, all of these people come from different areas. They sound like they come from different areas. That is surprisingly refreshing. It's like Final Fantasy XII's voice cast. Bash sounds different from Ash, who sounds different from Vine, who sounds different from Penilla, who sounds different from Fran, who sounds different from Balthier. And that was... I liked that they did that, because it showed diversity in the world. It showed that people came from different places, different backgrounds, and did different things different ways. So yeah, the voice acting, while not being standard by any stretch of the imagination, was decent, and it did what the voice actors did what they needed to do to sell their lines, sell the story, and get injured rather a lot. Right, the music. Again, it's... I wouldn't be able to tell you the composer if I heard them again. Is it Lord of the Rings quality? No, it is... Howard Shore most certainly did not write this. Did not write this score. I can't even say that I have a favourite track from the soundtrack, because to me it just sort of blended into the background, like it was there, and it was lovely that it was there. I just didn't form any particular, oh, I love this song, got to hear that again, that sort of thing with the soundtrack, which is not a bad thing by any means. For some games, you don't want the soundtrack to overflow. No, override. No. Some games, the soundtrack isn't there to do anything but set the scene. Like, how to explain it? Like, okay, it like in the original ish RPGs and things that were out there, during the Nintendo, Sega era. How because of the size restrictions, you'd only have one song for every town, one song for every shop, that sort of thing, because they literally couldn't put any. They didn't have any more room to put more than that in. And this soundtrack is sort of like that, except instead of being forced to because of technological restrictions, it chose to be that way, which sounds silly, but it's also strangely welcome. It's a nice throwback, and it means that it doesn't overwhelm a scene. It's sort of like, okay, we're in a normal place and normal things are happening, except for this thing that we as an adventuring party are tackling. But everyone else in this town, this bar, this shop, they could care less. Life is going on as normal for them. And I think the soundtrack for Solasta accomplishes that feeling quite well. Okay, what next? We've been through story, voice actors, music. We can't do characters because we made them ourselves. And the parts that we could do of characters we covered in the story and the voice acting. So, yes. Well, that would leave us with battle then. Yes. No doubt over the last few episodes you've heard me talking rather disparagingly about the number of misses. And yes, after a while it does get quite draining on the soul to just see, oh, I've rolled a really high number. Finally, I'll hit something, and no, you will actually miss. And it's like, oh, God. Yeah, that gets really frustrating really quickly. Especially when you're in boss battles, as we were over the last few episodes, and it was just painful to keep doing them. And yes, I'm very much aware that this is how combat in Dungeons & Dragons and most tabletop RPGs occurs, with your D20s and so forth. But to me, there should be a point where not even if your damage goes up, but if you stop missing quite so often, that to me would be enough to go, okay, I am improving as a character, I am hitting more often, therefore battles are taking less time, and that would be enough to show progression to me. That maul, the warhammer that I made for Pharaoh during the Palace of Ice DLC, that I said I was really appreciating having it on me because it made regular battles a lot quicker. and that it should have been in the Crown of the Magister campaign. That's the kind of feeling that I want from a system of battle, and I just wasn't getting that, particularly at the end there with those final quests, with the final bosses of Palace of Ice. As for the main campaign, and not even to a lesser extent, the same way with Palace of Ice, so Crown of the Magister and Palace of Ice, I get the feeling that the developers had not so much a very specific party in mind, but that you would require certain spells, certain skills, certain things that having those would make the campaign, I hesitate to say a lot easier, but would definitely make your campaign a lot smoother than if, like we did, we did not have the smoothest campaign. But yes, I get the feeling that a paladin or a cleric or both would definitely help significantly with these particular campaigns, because they deal with, they have not an overabundance, but they lean more towards the undead opponents. So thinking of the vampire fight where we needed to get light, and I just didn't twig that the room behind us, I'd lit it all up before we'd gone in. So we could have in theory, we could have dragged them all back into that room and done it that way. But if we'd had a cleric with the Spirit Guardian spell, for example, who could just lay that down and, oh, look at that. Yeah, that's just one example of how a different party could have achieved a different outcome. Yeah, on the whole, the party we had was absolutely fine. I'm sure that in the right hands, someone could complete the game a lot easier than I did. But yeah, that's also the problem with going in blind to some of these games. It's like some games need before you play, please read this, so that you have something of an understanding of not specifically what you've got coming ahead, but this is this is what you're going to have to do, so that you can make a decision that is at least informed. And if you want to make it extremely hard on yourself, you can do that and choose all the wrong things. Or conversely, if you just want to min-max your perfect party, I suppose, you can do that too. But yep, no, for the most part it was fun. Yeah, I still need more practice with the whole Dungeons and Dragons rule sets, I suppose you'd call them. But we will. There'll be more games of Baldur's Gate 3 played. So we'll get the chance to explore that more then. I am of the... From a personal standpoint, I think if I hadn't been in charge of all the characters, I think that this probably, for me, would have been better played as a multiplayer game rather than a single player. Because each of those natural ones was a real kick in the guts. and there's no one to commiserate with. It's just like, yeah, okay, we're having a bad day here. No, it's I'm having a bad day here. Yeah. All right. So what would I recommend if you're going to play this game? I would recommend starting at the beginning, as you do. A very good place to start, as the song goes. I'd recommend starting by adjusting your game settings and start off with what you think you'll be most comfortable with, and then tweak it into a custom game, because tweak out the worst things would be my advice. So I would still keep it at authentic difficulty. First thing I would change would be from the true dice to the karmic dice, to stop some of those runs that we got that were just miss all in a row. I wouldn't mess with the dice overly much, at least to start with. I'd give yourself a good couple of levels with each dice setting you have, just to make sure you don't either overdo it or underdo it. The game allows you to change the settings at any time you want, as you saw in the final episode, where I was just, I've had enough of this, we are going to end this game tonight. But just be careful when you tweak your dice rolls for both yourself and the enemies. And those legendary abilities that some of the bosses have were just categorically unfair. That I won't ruin it, but one of the final fights, that one that was having 3 attacks for each turn that we rolled, it would get 3 attacks, and so forth. Each time that was quite capable of essentially wiping a character out. That was just horrifying. It was. I can do nothing against this. I can't do anything against it because it's got its legendary status, so it won't succumb to any sort of stun, freeze, banish, anything like that. But it can do essentially 100 HP of damage in one reaction turn. That's just wrong. Especially while you're busy rolling, your 2s and 3s and your natural 1s, and I would say to Tactical Adventures, please tone down legendary actions ever so slightly for Solasta 2. But yes, that if I could do one change about the entire thing, it would be make legendary actions slightly fairer. All right, now before I mumble on for any more, let's wrap this up. We'll say, yep, the story was fine. The voice acting was quite serviceable. The music did its job. The battle system, for the most part, worked quite well. It allowed you to do any tactics you wanted. If you wanted to do tactics, or you could just barrel in like some of us. And yeah, legendary actions can bite me. So, would I recommend playing it? Yeah, yes, even with Solasta 2 just coming out into early access, I would say yes. Give it a shot. I'm sure that you can do it much better than I did. And there's definite replayability in there. You can play as any of the classes that we didn't play as, or you can play as the same ones we did and choose different subclasses. You know, and you can try them all out, see what works, see what doesn't, and come up with your own perfect team for Solasta, if that's what you want to do. Or you can just roll through it and enjoy it, like I did for the most part. So yes, we'll give it a good 7 and say, yep, pretty good game. Good for what it did, especially when it was competing against Baldur's Gate 3. So, give it a shot if it looks like something that's right up your alley. So, our next playthrough will be Yakuza 4 Remastered. So we'll see you in that one. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you, hopefully without all the dogs in the neighbourhood barking through us at midnight, in the next episode of the next playthrough.